All right, perfect. So we are recording, so we'll get started here. Welcome everybody to the January installation of our Vancouver Power BI and Modern Excel user group chat. And this time around, we are going to be focused on our Power BI track with Parv. I'm going to just do a brief little intro here before we get things kicked off. Obviously. It's the January 21st edition. I think we finally got everything set up correctly to start 2021 with the correct meeting links and everything else, so that's all good. So tonight's agenda, we are into the welcome and overview right now. So for the next couple of minutes, I'm just going to do a quick intro here and thank our sponsors and all that kind of good jazz. Then we're going to kick off into the what's new in Power BI with Joseph Yeates. He's going to give us our monthly little feature in that area. Around 6:20-ish, we'll kick over and Parv's going to give us his feature presentation until 7:20-ish, or whenever Parv feels like he's talked about Power BI enough. So it could go longer, it could go shorter, depending on how he's feeling. So that's the agenda that we have for tonight. I do want to say a big thanks to all the sponsors that make this possible. Excel Guru, my company, for hosting this, obviously right off the bat. SkillWave Training is our training division with all kinds of great training around working with Excel and Power BI, dimensional modeling and Power Query training, all that kind of stuff to really help you master your data and build really good models that can stand the test of time. Microsoft helps us out on a regular basis. I want to thank them for helping me with the software that we actually use to run this stuff. And finally, I just want to also make a mention here that Excel Guru does actually provide a software called Monkey Tools, which is an Excel add-in to help you build better business intelligence models faster. If you're interested in looking at that, you can actually find more information on the Excel Guru website and my blog, or previous presentations that we actually have on here as well, which are recorded on our YouTube channel. Our next meetups that are going to be coming up, our Excel track is going to be Thursday, February 4th. We are super excited to be bringing in Howie Dickerman from the Excel team. Howie is the guy that is responsible for working on Power Pivot in Excel, and he's going to give us a great topic on DAX formulas in Excel. So you'll learn how all the stuff that we can do in Power BI, we can write a lot of it inside Excel as well. And Howie's going to be giving us a good presentation on that. We're really looking forward to it. Our Power BI/Excel track coming up for next month. We've got my friend Gasper Kamenchuk that is going to be coming to us live all the way from Slovenia. In order to make this work time zone wise for him, just be aware that while our Excel track is going to be at our normal 6 p.m. Pacific time, Gasper is going to be kicking off at 10 p.m. Pacific time, which is really early in the morning for him to actually give us a presentation on Power Query. Are we dealing with Power Query steps, or are they variables? So it's going to be entertaining to have a good run in Power Query from another speaker there. So these sessions will be opening up. Make sure that you RSVP, and we hope to see you at those when they come around. I just want to let you know as well that the Global Excel Summit is coming up very, very soon. This is going to be in the beginning of February. If you're interested in learning more about that kind of stuff, we've got a bunch of master classes and other conference stuff as well. You can save 10% on your registration with the coupon code you see here. I definitely encourage you to check it out. Finally, if you're interested in filling out a quick little survey to help the Excel team, you can do that here at this particular link, aka.ms/ExcelUG survey. The Excel team is trying to find out a little bit more about Excel people that show up to user group meetings, and they're still taking suggestions and feedback in that area. The last slide that I'm going to throw up here before we kick over to Joseph is if you'd like to get involved in this, if you'd like to do one of these presentations and share some of the stuff that you do, we would love to have you. Please fill out the survey down here. We're looking forward to actually welcoming a first-time speaker in the next couple of months who is actually taking advantage of this, and we're always interested in finding more people to contribute to what we actually have here. So if this sounds like a cool thing that you'd like to try, please fill out the survey and we'll get in touch and hopefully get you on our stage. And on that note, I am going to turn it over to Joseph, because Joseph has got a fun little task here. Obviously in December, when Joseph was going to do the what's new in Power BI, there was no Power BI release had dropped at that point, and we kind of joked that, hey, you know what, there's never a release in December. That's the month that the Power BI team takes that off and celebrates Christmas. And then about, what, 2 days later, I think, Joseph, they dropped like one of the biggest updates ever.
Pretty shortly after. Yeah, that gave me a good laugh.
So there you go. Now so you got just a little bit of stuff to try and run through before Parv takes over. So I'm gonna quiet up because I can see your screen now. So the floor is yours, my friend. It's
Awesome.
away.
All right, thank you, Ken. Yeah, so happy New Year, everybody. First Power BI meetup of the year for the Vancouver meetup group. Really excited to kick the year off. As Ken said, December 2020, which is the update that we're going to be reviewing today. Lots of, not just lots of features, but lots of big features, like lots of big changes that really improve the functionality of the tool. So excited to discuss some of my favorites from there. But just before we jump into that, I just want to take like 1 minute or so just to introduce myself for anyone who's new or hasn't attended before. My name is Joseph Yeates. I'm a data analyst at financial institution in beautiful North Vancouver. My website is up there, feathersanalytics.com. I blog about all things like Power BI. I use R as well, so I talk about R and some of the statistical analysis and different things that we can do there. And one of the things I really enjoy is how to bring those two tools together. So how to use some more advanced analytics within more like traditional BI or data visualization tools so we can really marry the two and get the best of both worlds. My social media handles and information is up there as well. So please feel free to connect on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn. I love connecting with the community and really anyone who uses any of these tools. And if you have something cool to share or need help with something, more than happy to connect. So with that, I am going to jump in because, as Ken said, we have so much stuff to cover. And as always, the best place to start is the Microsoft Power BI blog. So every month when there's a release, there's a corresponding blog post with a feature summary as well. So all of the new features or some of the updated features are divided into these different sections like reporting, data prep, data connectivity, etc. And if we scroll down, there's also video as well that goes over some of these new features. So you can sort of see visually what's been written in the blog post. You can see a little bit of an example as well. So lots and lots of features released in December. I'm going to focus on three for this evening, but all three of them are pretty big. So we have direct query for Power BI datasets and Azure Analysis Services. So that's in preview. We have a new small multiples functionality and some of the out-of-the-box visuals in Power BI. So I know that I think ever since I started using Power BI like 5-ish years ago, this has been a requested feature and it's finally here now. So that is very exciting. And then the last update that I'm going to cover are some of the recent changes to Power Query and data flows. So this is using Power Query online. So if we start with the direct query for Power BI datasets and Azure Analysis Services, if you're on Twitter or you follow Power BI, read any of the blogs, there's been tons of content written, lots of videos around this. I'm going to do a quick example, but if you want to dive a little bit deeper into this functionality, there is an actual separate blog post as well about this preview feature. So this direct query for the Power BI datasets and Azure Analysis Services. Guy in a Cube has a video on his channel, which is awesome. He gets in, again, a little bit more detail of how you can actually use this and set this up and how it works. So I would absolutely recommend watching that as well. So what this feature is and how we can use it is if I go to one of my workspaces in powerbi.com, so Power BI on the cloud, I have a data set here. And now what we have the ability to do is if I go to the Power BI desktop app, I can connect directly to this data set. So this what's new in Power BI. I can create a connection there. And now I have a live connection denoted down here in the bottom right-hand corner. Let's make this a little bit bigger so we can see. where are we? Yeah, connected live to my Power BI data set. So that's what's new in Power BI in my Feathers Analytics workspaces, in my Feathers Analytic workspace, rather. And I can have a look at the model, the data model. So just a basic star schema. And what this allows me to do is interact with this data model, building my report like I've connected to it. So like if I want to build a line chart, I can pull in like total balance. I can pull in like the date. Let's just do that for now. So I can look at total balance by date. And let's make this a bit more interesting because this is kind of boring right now. Let's look at like client segment. Let's do that. Come on. There we go. So you can build a report as usual. This is a live connection. So if I go to transform data to bring up the Power Query editor, we can see in order to do this, it says to make changes, you need a direct query connection. So right now I'm live connected. I can't actually look at any of like the underlying schema of the data model. I just have connections and I can play around and build reports. So to make this change, and I can make change, I need to switch this to a direct query. And to do that, I have to add a local model, which is what I'm doing now. So what's really cool about this is not only can I do a live connection to my data set from the cloud on Power BI, but this allows me to incorporate different sources as well to enhance that data model. So like I'm going to go and navigate to a budget figures. So if I just have like an Excel file that's not published in a data model, like my whole organization doesn't need to look at the budget. That's just for me to have. But I actually want to be able to build visuals and build some insights around my budget figures against my actuals. I can load this. Here we go. I can load a budget table. I'm just going to close and apply it like that. It says the potential security risk because I'm adding a second data source. So I'm connecting live or direct query to my data model on the cloud, but I'm also connecting to just a local Excel file. So it's just making sure, like, are you sure you want to do this? Yeah, I want to do it. Let's live dangerously. Why not? And then if I go down here, we can see that within the data model in my workbook, all of these blue tables is a direct query. And we can see that by the little icon in the top left-hand corner of these tables. And whereas this budget is on import, like it's actually this information from Excel has been loaded into this workbook. And if I want to, I can go and I can actually link these two tables here so that my dates line up. So it's a many-to-one relationship. That all looks good. So now I have, as part of my data model, I've been able to enhance that just with information from a local Excel file. I've added essentially another fact table to this data model. And let's get rid of some of this date stuff so that it works. So now if I add date to this was my existing line chart. Now I can bring in additional information from, I didn't want to do that. I can bring in additional information from another data source as well. So if I want to do like a column chart, I can look at total balance. I can also look at my total budget amount. And I can look at that across all of my different dates. So now rather than just relying on the data sets like at the enterprise level that my organization maintains, I can now enhance that with self-serve BI, and it's what's known as mixed storage mode. So down here in the bottom right, let me zoom in on that again. I've actually done 3 separate things pretty quickly here. I've gone from a live connection where I can't really see anything about my data model. I can just play with the information. I've loaded it as direct query so I can play around with it a bit more, and then I've enhanced it with information from a local file. And now within the data model in the workbook, I have import data, I have direct query data, and I can bring all of these things together in one report to build insight. So this is absolutely huge in marrying business intelligence from the enterprise level to the sort of the self-serve level for the business analyst or for the data analyst or any report designer or builder. So that was huge. This is really cool. I can't stress that enough. And I've had to go through this really quickly because there's some other things that I want to cover as well. But if this has piqued your interest at all, definitely look at that for some of those other resources as well. So building on top of this same data model, one thing that we're able to do now is build some small multiples. So previously, if we were looking at just like, let's do a bar chart this time. And if we wanted to look at, say, count of clients by, let's do account product. Why not? So we can see we have like loans, deposits, credit cards, whatever. If we wanted to slice our count of clients by another dimension or another column, like other information, so say like client type or client age, let's do client type. I could drop that into the legend, for example. But really what I want is I want to see this graph and this distribution. And I want to see that for each of these four client types. So I could change it to clustered bar chart like this. And this sort of gets us closer because I can compare like the dark blues with the light blues, with the oranges, but everything's still on one visual. Like there's only one chart here. What small multiples lets us do is rather than drop client type on the legend, if I drop that into the small multiple bucket, and let's actually change that to a column chart. Now I'm creating this exact same visual, this column chart. We're doing count of clients by product. And I can see this, it's creating this 4 times, one for each of those client types that I've put in my small multiples. So I can have one for golden, one for regular, one for youth, one for young adult. And this is really powerful because before, the only way to achieve this dynamically is write some super complicated and advanced DAX or play around and have some solution with bookmarks and buttons. And you really have to build a lot of different scenarios to make it look dynamic and easy to interact with. But in the back end, it wasn't actually that easy. It was a really robust solution to make it look that way. But now this is out of the box. We have this small multiples bucket that we can drop fields in, just like we have with the axes, with legend, with values, how we build any visual in Power BI as well. So this is awesome. This is really exciting. Like I said earlier, this has been a requested feature for basically as long as I've been using Power BI. If anyone attended any of my sessions where I look at R visuals in Power BI, it's something that you can do using Python, using R, using some custom visuals, but now it's actually native in Power BI. So this was awesome, and I think Ken said it was an early Christmas present, some of these features, and I would definitely put that in that category as well. So the very last feature that I want to spend some time on this evening is what's new in Power Query and data flows. So if we go back to the feature blog for December, it's listed down in the data preparation, and it's not really sold very well. It just sort of says recent changes to, there's been some recent changes. And then there's like one line and it says we've recently announced exciting changes. Read all about it in this blog. So this blog is really long and very thorough. So it's awesome. There is lots of new features in Power Query online. And I just want to recap a few of my favorite ones so we can see some of the new functionality in Power Query. But if you do use Power Query and you use Power Query online or use data flows with Power BI, I would definitely recommend checking out this blog post as well. So if I go back to my workspace in Power BI on the cloud and I go to new and I want a new data flow, and I'm just going to add some new entities. here we go. Let's just do a blank table. And let's just say we have Joseph, we have Ken, we have Mo, we have Sadio, and we have Bobby. And let's have another column, which is like goals scored or something like that. So I have 5, Ken's got like 12, and Mo, Sadio, and Bobby are all 0 because I've been not great lately. Let's change that to a whole number. We'll just leave that as table for now. I'll hit next. So by hitting next, this brings us into the Power Query editor online, Power Query online. And we have a lot of the functionality that's available in Excel, in Power BI, but there's some differences as well. So if I go to view, my first new favorite thing is the diagram view. So if I click on that, rather than have a list of applied steps down the right-hand side that said, like, you know, I connect to my data, I change my data type. Actually, let's click out of this for a second. If I add a column, which is a custom column for all of them, I'll just say target, and let's say everyone had a target of 7. I hit OK, and we change the data type again to a whole number. Now, instead of just looking at these in my query settings, where we can see, let me zoom in, where we can see we have a source step, we've changed the type, we've added a custom column, we've changed that column type as well. Now we can actually see in a diagram view exactly what has happened in a little bit more visual way. So we've entered data, we've changed type, we've added a column, we've changed type again. And even within here, we can show the actual steps of the query. We can show the names of the query steps, or we can change, or we can label our visual with the actual labels of what we did, like enter data, change type, etc. If I reference this query down here, we can actually see how that looks as well. So if I reference this and I said, you know, let's just make this our goals query, and I wanted this to be our target query for whatever reason, we can see, okay, we've done some changes up here in our original table query, in our source query. Then goals and target both reference this query. And within goals, all I did was remove other columns. And now that gets added as a step. We can see that we have 2 steps in there. I can expand that out to see what we've done. And it really is just a visual representation, a diagram representation of all of the steps and all the functionality that we use in Power Query that we're familiar with, represented in a different way. So I think this was awesome. One thing that's available now as well is not just a data view down here, which is like a preview of our data and how our changes are going to be applied to it. We also can have a schema view where we can see, we can look at the name, the type, and the key for each of the tables that we're selected on. So we can see, you know, what columns are in here, what's their data type. And it's just a different way to look at the data rather than just in our data view as well. It's a little bit more of a high level view, looking at some of the metadata of our queries. So that was, I think that was really cool as well, having the option to look at the exact same queries in slightly different ways. I see I'm going a little bit over time. There's been some other great updates to fuzzy matching. We can do group by fuzzy matching. We can do clustering now. Some ease with copy pasting data between Power Query Online and the desktop. So much stuff that honestly we could do like the full hour and a bit today just going over updates in Power Query, let alone Power BI this month. But rather than go into any more of Parv's time, I'm going to wrap it up there. So thank you, everyone. I'm really looking forward to the feature presentation. If you have any questions about any of those, any of the updates, please let me know. But again, I would definitely recommend looking at some of the blog posts that have been put out on the Microsoft site for both Power Query updates and Power BI. But with that, I'm going to hand it back to Ken so we can jump into the feature presentation. So thank you, everyone, and looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Joseph. And all right, Parv, the floor is yours, my friend. If you want to take over and share your screen, I guess we're good to go.
Thank you.
And then I guess like last time, Parv, I'll just monitor the chat, and if there's anything that comes up as a question, I can just moderate it and interrupt you and let you know.
Yeah, sure. Please
Perfect.
do so.
That will work.
Let me see which screen I have to share here. I guess screen 2. Let me know if you can hear me all right, and you can see my PowerPoint presentation.
I can hear you, and I can see it. All yours, bud.
All right, sounds great. Awesome. All right, hello everyone. Happy New Year once again. This is the third Happy New Year we are saying. First Ken and Joseph, now me. I hope you guys all being safe and staying safe, basically. And hopefully this 2021, we get through this and get to do this presentation in person. So much looking forward to it. Anyhow, start with today's topic. I guess Power BI paginated reports or Power BI report builder, creating a pixel or developing a pixel perfect reports is a paginated report. Underneath we have SSRS. So that I will be covering this particular topic today. The agenda here is just going to go over what is Power BI report builder or paginated report. It's also known as the main focus point is not going to be like how you develop these reports and whatnot, but like how you use Power BI data sets and why you use Power BI data sets in Power BI report builder or paginated reports, what benefits it brings. Going to talk about that. Report parameters is really critical, and what I learned I want to share. Some tips and tricks, and one of the big thing which I want to talk about, which usually we run into day in and day out when we want to export data from Power BI reports, or there is a limitation how much data we can export and all the stuff, and then we use external tools like DAX Studio or some other way of PowerShell and whatnot. But we can integrate paginated reports with Power BI in fact, and export large data set if we needed to using Power BI paginated reports in the look and feel we want. Like currently, like I'm pretty sure we all going through this. If you develop a metric visual in Power BI desktop and you want to export the data, you cannot, because it goes as a flat file. It doesn't go as a pivoted data and whatnot. So we can overcome those kind of challenges using this Power BI paginated report. So I'm gonna, the reason, maybe in the next slide, we'll talk about that. Just quickly about me. Again, I'm here in Vancouver, running a small consulting company, basically purely working on Power BI, solution on Power BI, Microsoft Data Platform MVP. This is my third year, and very fortunate to be part of this MVP group of people. Ken, we have some people here on the call as well. And also I'm a super user in Power BI community, very involved in the community. I always like to say, whatever meetup I go, if you ever have a question, anything about Power BI, Power BI service, paginated report, you name it, gateway and all the stuff, doesn't matter what it is, DAX, Power Query, go to Power BI community forum. It's very, very active community. A lot of great people over there who are providing solution and all this stuff. There are around 80 plus super users, and it's awesome. You just go there and learn. You can, of course, reach me out directly on my email. My phone number is here, and of course, my LinkedIn. Any question you guys have directly, you want to reach out to me, anything related to Power BI, feel free to do so. All right. So let's first quickly talk about, again, the most of the session is going to be more about show and tell, actually doing things in paginated reports or report builder. And I just want to set up the ground to make sure that we all know what it is all about. I hope everybody know SSRS and whatnot. It's mainly used for operational reporting. Like, for example, we're printing, like Power BI is mainly, if we look in the Power BI umbrella, we have Power BI desktop, which is like more of an analytical tool. This is more used for operational reporting, again, Pixel Perfect, mainly used for exporting and printing and whatnot. Power BI desktop or analytic reporting is not designed for those kind of things, like for printing and all this stuff. It's more designed for you interact with the reports. I run into challenges where I go with meet some clients and they say, okay, we created this awesome table and it says a scroll bar and whatnot, and now we want to print these reports. And of course, it's just print as a screen, not as a table or the look and feel the way we want it. So this is where the Power BI report builder comes. Where we can create reports exactly the way we want. We can print, we can export, like maybe invoices or a customer statement, you name it, AR, AP statements, or whatever your requirement is. So this tool fill that gap and help us to go to the operational reporting instead of analytical reporting. Again,
Hey,
this is
Parv,
under the hood. Yeah.
Parv, just a quick question that's come in from the chat is, what's the licensing requirement that's required in order to use the Power BI report builder? Is it restricted to Pro, Premium? Where does it fit in?
Yeah, I'm just going to talk about that in next slide, but great question. Again, one of the reason, I think in the next slide I will talk about this, but yeah, give me a quick second here, but let's quickly see what it is. Again, it's SSRS under the hood. If you have currently SSRS reports with you and you decided to go to the paginated report, using the current, depending on if it allows you to connect, not all the connectors are available in paginated reports, but let's say if you're using SQL Server and you have a SSRS report and you want to take it to Power BI environment, you can, there's not much change you need to do, and you can actually take the report, open in Power BI report builder, and then publish it to Power BI service. One thing I want to talk about here is a little bit different. The last thing in my list of things here is there is one special function which I just want to make sure that we all pay attention to this, which is called RS custom DAX filter. If you guys, if we all using Power BI, you guys probably never seen this in Power BI desktop. This particular function is basically used in Power BI paginated reports to overcome a multiple values selection of parameters to pass that to the DAX code behind the scene. We will look at an example about this, but I just want to highlight this. This is something, if you guys are working with Power BI paginated reports, you will come across this function in the query which get developed behind the scene, and this particular function is purely used for this Power BI paginated reports. Why I decided to do today's presentation and why Power BI datasets and all that stuff. We talk about Power BI datasets. So again, just quickly, if we are coming from Power BI space, we all know how Power BI works. We start with a Power BI desktop. We connect to a data source. It could be Excel, it could be SQL Server, Oracle, whatever you name it. We mash it up, we transform the data. We saw Power Query Joseph talked about. We transform the data, we create a model. There is no other place to create a data model at this point of time. There's no data modeling tool to do it online or anything like that. Everything has to be done in Power BI desktop. And once you do the data model, you publish the report in the cloud, you refresh the data. Now, once you publish the report in the cloud, you have two things. You have a report and you have a data set. So data set is what contains your data. It contains your measures. It contains your how tables are connected to each other and everything. It has all the information in there. So and then the reports get built on top of that, whether it's an analytical report we would do it for visualization purpose, or we create these paginated reports. There's a concept of a golden data set. We all use that in today's world. I don't think I need to go into detail, but let's say we have a one centralized data set which is maintained by a IT team or more technically they know what they're doing and they maintain that golden data set. And then there are super users or a users who want to author reports for the self-serve. They connect to that data set. They are not responsible of maintaining data model, or they don't have that kind of technical skills, but they are pretty much connecting to a data set which is built by a technical team, and then they're developing their visualization on top of that. So Power BI paginated report allows us to connect to Power BI data set, and then we can have one single view rather than going to any other place. Let's say, if I have a data set, which is a data coming from SQL Server, and Joseph talked about a budget coming from Excel file, we have this one single data set which we are analyzing using Power BI reports. Now I can use the same data set for the paginated report. So basically one single source for your operational or for analytical reports. Last whole 1 year, I actually did a very big project with one of my clients, and their requirement on Power BI desktop or analytical report was very little, but it was more for the paginated reports. And this is where I learned, and I want to share today what I learned from that particular project and how we used it and how beneficial it is. And now here comes a question which I think someone asked in the chat, like, do I need to pay for Power BI Report Builder, or what kind of licensing we need? And one of the other reasons why I'm talking about this today, I decided to talk about this is I think we all know currently there's two kind of licensing, Power BI Pro and in a larger schema, and we have a Power BI Premium. Of course, under Premium, we have multiple SKUs and whatnot. As of today, if you need to use a Power BI Report Builder under Pro, you can, yes, download Power BI Report Builder. You can connect to data set and you can develop report, but you cannot publish it. You cannot share it. It's only for your single use. There's nothing much you can do. You need a Power BI Premium. I think A3 under ASQs, which is mainly used for embedded, ASQs which you can pause and scale up and down. Under, I think, A3 to A6 and then premium SKUs, you get Power BI paginated reports. One of the reason Power BI, the other, I think the report builder, this is going to be a big thing coming up, the new licensing, which is Power BI Premium per user licensing. We all know it is, we don't know what the pricing is about that particular licensing. What we know today is that you can turn that feature on your tenant. It's in a preview. You can turn that feature on, and paginated report or the report builder is available in PPU. So assuming PPU is going to fill the gap, the cost factor between Pro and the Premium, something going to come in between. We hope. We don't know what that's going to look like, and having Premium paginated report under that PPU, assuming the pricing turns out to be really good, I think this product is going to be highly used at that point of time. So as of today, you can turn on PPU under your tenant, and then you can start using Power BI Report Builder, and you can share and under Workspace, which are under PPU, and you can use it. But again, we don't know what the pricing is going to be. It's unknown at this point of time. If we don't want to take that risk, or you don't want to take that risk, then yes, you need Power BI Premium. I think minimum is A3, which you can pause and play as on your own demand the way you want it, and you can scale it up and down. So that's kind of the licensing requirement for this. I hope that answered the question. One of the thing we want to talk about in Power BI, I think I might switch over to actually report builder right now to start looking into the things. Give me a quick second here.
Parv, while you're doing that, there's another question. Is the on-prem version regular SSRS, or is it also paginated reports?
Is the on-prem version of SSR is?
Yeah, is the on-premises version as like classic SSRS, or is there a separate?
It's a separate, yeah. Can you see my? Oh man, that phone's done.
I can see it, but it's massive. Only
yeah,
see like a portion of the screen.
Okay, hang on a second. Let me. Where is it? Maybe I'll share different screen then. I think it's going partially on. It is doing that. Okay, I'm going to share a different screen then, so that don't. Just going to quickly start sharing my different screen. Screen one. Let's see if you see now. Can you see it all right now?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay, perfect. All right. Go into quickly. Before I go to that, I just want to show you the data model on which we are going to work right now. So I just created a simple data model here, which we'll be using as our example. It's just a simple sales report, and there is a couple of tables in here. Typical, we have a sales table as our fact table. We have a calendar, we have a product table, and we have a customer table. This is our dimensions. This is our fact table. And I published this table, this report, very simple report. It's showing the trend over time, sales by state. We have sales by territory, sales by product category, typical things, and nothing fancy. Some parameters here, and products and customer slices and all that fun stuff. So nothing fancy, just a regular Power BI report. So I published this in Power BI service. As I can show you guys here, I have a workspace here. So what we have here is we have a data set, as I said, and then we have a report. So if we go to the reports, the same in the cloud. So this is our report in the cloud, and also we have a data set called the same sales report Vancouver meetup. Going back to paginated reports, again, you guys can download it under Pro Builder. You can always download it and start using it. The people who probably used SSRS familiar with the look and feel. I don't want to go into that details. But what I want to show here is how you connect to Power BI dataset, and what are the key things you need to pay attention to when you're working with the Power BI dataset. So on the connection, you have a Power BI dataset connection, of course, and then it will take you to your service. Now, why it is taking here? Of course, like Power BI desktop, you need to log into your tenant. If you're switching between working with multiple tenants, you need to log in which tenant you want to use it. And so I'm currently connected to my company tenant, logged in as myself. So go and new and Power BI dataset connections. As you guys can see, I have a premium spaces, which is pretty much what I can. It shows a diamond. I have this meetup Vancouver paginated report. So I have my data set there. It's gonna connect to sales report Vancouver meetup. So basically what I'm doing is I'm connecting to Power BI dataset directly. The modeling, data refresh, and everything is already done through the Power BI desktop, and I created the connection to that data set. A couple of things you want to pay attention here. It's just a terminology get used. In Power BI, we have a data set and the reports built on top of that. So here we have in Power BI, we connect to data sources and we create a data set. Here we connect to the Power BI data set, which is called data source. So it's a reverse kind of a terminology here. I think because of SSRS, how it came in paginated reports. So we are connected to a data source. Now that data source is our Power BI data set, and it's just a simple connection. Think about like traditionally we connected to SSRS. So we are now connected directly to Power BI as our data source. So data set would be traditionally, if we have to do with an SSR in SQL, we will connect to SQL Server and we will bring a views or tables from our SQL Server. So here what we need to do is, of course, we create a data set. So basically what we're doing is creating a table which we want to visualize the data on. For example, so I want to call it like, say, sales, for example. Of course, my data source is the connection which I already created to data source. In the past, if you're connecting to SSRS and all the stuff, you can have your query string here and all the stuff, but that doesn't work with if you're using Power Paginated Report with Power BI data set. So what you have to go through is you have to go through the query designer and then make it work through that. So what I'm going to do is click on query designer here. And what you guys going to see here in a quick second. So all my dimensions and everything will show up in here because I just showed you guys again, going back to quickly to our tables here in Power BI. So all these tables are showing up in my paginated reports here as my dimensions. And then all my measures, what I've created shows up under my measures. So this is what I can utilize in my report. So very big thing you want to be careful when you are connecting to Power BI data set and you're using it. Here is what people I've seen run into the issues. So let's say if I want to create a simple list, customer and a product, nothing fancy, nothing more than that. So what I go to my customer table, for example. So I grab my customer, it shows up in here. If I click and execute the query, it should show up all my customers here, and which looks great. And then let's say I want my products. So this is I want the simple table. So I say, OK, I selected my columns and I go OK. What it's going to do is underneath, it's going to create a DAX query behind the scene. So one of the things if you're using a paginated report with SSRS, familiarity with the DAX is going to be an important thing here. It's not critical, but it's going to be important. And I will show you how you guys, if you not like work too much with DAX and all the stuff, like how you can actually bring DAX from Power BI desktop and use it here. So as you can see here is what it did is it created a DAX. If I run this DAX command in DAX Studio connected to the same Power BI data set, I will get the result of all the customers and products. So it did the DAX code for me. So once this is done, I say OK. And now I have my a table, customer and product. So let's see if I want to visualize it. So again, I don't want to go through the how you create or develop reports in here, but it's more about how you work with the Power BI data set. So I'm just going to grab a table here. Insert table. It's product and customer. Now, we assume, I don't know what you guys think the result is going to be, but I'm going to execute this and we will see what it comes out to be. It's going to take a couple of minutes, actually. I think I probably need to break this up. So what's happening at this point of time is basically it's creating a full join between customer and product. So if I have a 500 customers and 500 products, so it's going to show me against each customer, each product. And the reason why it is going to do that, if we look back into our data model, which is again going, because our data model is in Power BI, there is no direct relationship between customer and product. So there is no way that these two guys, if I take a customer and product from here, and that I can get, it's going to give me the full auto join. And that's what's happening here. It's keep on running, and I just canceled because I know it's not going to work. Just to show you guys why that's not going to work, I can go back to my query, which I designed, right click on that and say go query. And let's, I'm going to filter on a couple of customers here. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put a couple of customers in my, this interface is not that great as we have in Power BI desktop. So if I go customer, so here, this is where you create your filters or parameters, but we will quickly go through that. So let's say I'm going to pull a couple of customers here. So let's say pick these two, okay, and run okay. What it's going to do at this point of time, it's going to create the DAX statement again behind the scene, and it's filtered only for those two customers. And let's run this report quickly. If you guys want to see, like I can go to dataset properties and I can see what it did. Before that, it was only summarized columns, and now it added this filters to that, saying customer is equal to Aaron Adams and Aaron Alexander. I can cancel that, and now if I run it, I think it should be quick now because there's only two customers, and let's say there's 500 products. So as you can see now, it's showing me customers and the products. But the problem with this thing is, like, if I want simple customer product list, how I overcome with this, like, for example, the customer who purchased what product they purchased. So the easier way to do this whole thing is, the one is like you should always bring a measure to it. But what I'm going to show you guys here, we're going to take advantage of Power BI here. So I'm going to create the same thing in Power BI here. Let's go in, I need a customer. And I need a product. So here it works perfectly fine because it is joined through the fact table. And to see the query, again, if you guys never use Performance Analyzer, this is one of the tools which will be very, very helpful when you guys working with the paginated reports. So I go start recording. I go refresh visuals. So what happens is it's reran the query, and in the table, it gives me this DAX query. So if I copy the query here and go back to my Power BI report builder, I say, I'm going to change this query. So go back to the query. I will show you what does that query look like. So when it opens the query designer, it always go back and live connect, because this is live connect. It goes back and live connect to your Power BI data set. That's why there's a little bit of a delay here. So this is the interface where you can actually drag and drop, but you can also switch to the design mode. Again, I think this is more, I used SSR a long time ago. I don't remember all the interface of the SSRS on top of my head, but like, again, I can go to the design mode. So once I go in the design mode, what I can do here is let it show up. So this is now design mode. I can give my own commands, and what, like, as you can see, this is the query currently it is using. So the query I copied from my Power BI desktop, I can just cut and paste there. So that query is taking care of everything. I have a filter on that particular, like a Canada or United States. I can remove this if I wanted to. Again, this is all DAX. There's nothing fancy about it. And I'm gonna remove this because it's giving me the only top 500 rows, but here I don't want to just get top 500. I'm gonna remove this as well. And I need to return this. It's storing everything in the variable. I just want this, and it's sorted by customer and product. Now, once you added the query in a design mode, you cannot go back into the other interface. So once you added it here, you cannot go back. So I go click in to execute the some error message here. So probably because I removed one filter, should remove this as well. TS0 core. Let's copy back the whole thing. Probably I deleted something. Should not have. Refresh visuals, copy query. Go back to my report builder, put it in here. Execute. Yeah, okay. I want this. I want TS0 core. So, and let's go execute it again. Okay. So basically, I gave my own DAX code the way I want. I took it from, I don't need to really know too much about DAX. If I could through the desktop, I can visualize the data in desktop and Power BI desktop and then bring it the query here. So once this is done here, now if we execute this, it should run as expected. All right, so we have now all customers, all products, what we wanted to be in this report. So the point here is you can write your own DAX code. So DAX is going to be your friend. If you don't know too much about DAX, you can go back into your Power BI desktop, you create your visuals the way you want it to be, and bring that thing in Power BI report builder, bring that code here and then utilize that. I'm just going to grab my notes here to make sure that I don't miss anything. Any questions so far?
Parv, we got a couple of questions that are actually in here. I think they probably have been answered, but one question was, does the query designer generate MDX instead of DAX? From what I see, it looks to me like it's pretty much DAX.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the second one is, how do I put an OR between two filter fields? All the filtering I've been doing is forcing AND operations so far. I'm pretty sure I saw an OR in your last clause as well. So.
Yeah, that was OR. The one which I just used was OR clause. And again, we can. So basically, when you go, let's see if I create a query again, add data set again, we can do that. I can go back. Okay, use sales, whatever you want to call it, data source, this query designer. So if I go back here, I pick up my customer. So also take into my filter. So if I go here and filter expression, I say this is OR. So I select 3 of these, for example. So it should return me 3 rows here. So yeah, you can have the parameters. Right now I'm not showing the parameters, but this is what it is. So this is a OR, whatever you select in here. Right, can I cancel this?
Cool stuff. I think that was all the questions that were in the queue so far.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Oh, okay, never mind. How about or between two fields, like customer name is John Doe or customer state is California?
Yeah, again, we can go back. So let's go back there again, just quickly. Editor should have stayed there, but let's keep it same thing. Okay. What happened here? To click Query Designer, I clicked OK. Okay, so again, let's say in my customer dimension. Oh, I think or in two different columns, different filters, right? I think that's the question. Like
Yeah, that's correct. Two different columns. Yeah.
Two different columns. I think for that we have to solve it through the DAX first and then bring it here. I don't think I have a live example here. Yeah, because if I put those two filters right now, it's going to filter and for that makes sense. Again, that's what we need to be solved through DAX first, and then bring that DAX code in here. Maybe something I can address that later on if we have time.
Fair enough. Thanks, Parv.
Yeah. Okay. So going back to just quickly, let's get started. New report actually. Quickly again, new report. It's going to do the same thing. Dataset connection, connect to my paginated report, Vancouver meetup. Again, the same thing. So I'm going to dataset again. If we wanted to put the parameters in here, I just want to show you quickly the parameters. So again, I'm going to Query Designer. Come on. Okay, so what we're going to do here is quickly, again, the same thing, very simple thing we're going to do. I probably will, given the time, probably the rest of the things, I already have those reports done. I will show directly in the reports, but this one I just want to show. So I have a customer and product, and I have a sales. Again, sales is my measure here. Again, going back to Power BI desktop, just to quickly dollar sales to show. Dollar sales is just a simple simple measure, which is sum of the sales amount from the sales table. Again, sales table is our fact table and customer and product connected to it. Switching back and forth. So here what we want to do is we want our customer as our parameter. We don't want like to have all the customers in here. Again, it's if you are familiar with SSRS, I'm pretty sure you guys have done it a zillion times. So I drop my customer, which I want to be my parameter. Instead, before we were just filtering. So of course, this checkbox here, very tiny one, tells like add this as a parameter. So customer is going to be my parameter in my report. So I have a customer, product, and sales, three things, and I want to filter my reports on customer parameters. So if I go OK here, and what you guys will see, it's going to create this DAX code. Pay attention to this because what happens is created this, and then it has this RS custom DAX filter, which I mentioned in my presentation earlier, that this special function kicks in. So basically what it's taking is taking dim customer as in a parameter, which it automatically created, and equal to condition to dim customer. This converts your multiple value selected in the parameter and convert to apply that filter on your data set. So that's what the RS custom text filter is doing for us. So, but I don't need to learn about that. It's taking care of it. So now I already have a a customer, product, and sales in here. Just create quickly a insert table, and I go customer, product, sales, and so if you look into the parameters, so it's automatically created a parameters which is called dim customer. If you look at the parameter properties, of course, this is similar to SSRS, whether a blank is allowed, multi-selector allow or not. And one of the things you're going to look into that in available values, it has the dim customer a table and parameter value and all the stuff. It creates a query. So where does this come from? When you create a parameters, what it happens is behind the scene, it creates a hidden data set. So what it has done is it created another table behind the scene, which is dim customer, which is used for available values for our customer parameter. So if I run this, for example, so what you see here is the list in the drop down. This is coming from dim customer table, which it created behind the scene. So if I select these three guys here, for example, and say view report, and now we have a sales by product for those three customers. And this measure, now again, if I had a business logic built in the sales, like exclude any sales or anything, I don't need to come here and worry about this. So even Power BI desktop analytical report is looking at the same measure, and Power BI paginated report is looking at the same measure as well. So it means your one single data set is now giving the information to both reporting tools, whether it's analytical or operational, and have the same business logic behind the scene. And we don't need to, worry about all that stuff like, exclude, or, in Power BI desktop, there's a formula which is excluding certain kind of sales calculations. And here we come and connect again with a source data set, which is SQL Server, and then we put some different business logic, and all of a sudden the numbers look totally different. So we can take advantage of one single data set. Again, I said the shared or a golden set data set, whatever you want to call it, and use on the both places in desktop, as well as your analytical reports, and also in your paginated reports. So a lot of value in there. So now let's say on top of this, we also want to have a parameter for products. We just don't want to have all the, we want to select a different product. So again, I can go back to my data set again. I go to query, and coming back here, I go to product. So let's pick product again. I can add another parameter and say I have to check this, a parameter. So now go OK. So what we will expect to see here is the second parameter show up when it finish doing the backend work. You have to deliver page. There's no like a wait thing in here. See, it kicks in, so you have to be very, very careful to not clicking and saying, okay, it doesn't say that it's in a wait state right now. It's just looks like it's ready to be get used. So again, dim product. Again, another a table get created in hidden table. So and then another parameter get added. So if now I run this report, for example, and I expect to see two parameters, one giving me a drop down of products, and other one is let's pick a couple of these. This interface entering the parameters on Power BI service is much more cleaner. There's a search box and all the stuff, which is not in here. Now here it is giving me all the product I can select and whatnot. Now, here is one of the challenge which I came across when I was doing something like this is like it's showing me all the products, but I don't want to see all the products. I just want to see the product which has some sales and whatnot. So how I make this parameter to be not show me all the products, but only show me the product which has a sales. So the one way to do that is because if we look into the parameter properties, what it is doing is available values. It's showing it's coming from this table. So it means we can create our own table the way we want it with our own logic, and then have this parameter use that table instead of using this dim product. So what I can simply do here is I can go back to my add another in my data set, another data set, which is basically a query, and say go to query designer. And once it shows up, I go product. Now here is why the DAX and the measures and all the stuff is very, very important. So if I draw product here, so what's going to happen is it's still going to list all the products. So it's not going to make any difference. So it listed all the products. So let's go back and look this thing in Power BI desktop quickly. So if I go in Power BI desktop here with my model, I say, give me product. So I have a product. So if I'm looking at this point of time, I'm seeing all the products. So we can check that. I can go product and make a count of this quickly. So we have around 606 products. And if I add we all know how, I assume we know how DAX works and Power BI Desktop works. If I put my sales in here, it's going to show me only products which has the sales. So those are very little, as we can say, it's probably 150. So now I have this query. I know with this particular query, I can limit my products which has the sales. The one way is I can, again, I can go to Performer Analyzer and start recording, refresh visuals, blah, 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 and get the query here. Whatever this query is, it means it's filtering products by sales, or because this one is very simple, I can directly do this in desktop in report builder. I say, OK, product, and I want sales. So I just throw it in here. And if I click and execute the query, it's going to show me only the product with the sales. So it's showing now very limited number of products because with the filter context on, because this measure is not returning the blank value the way Power BI Desktop works, we get to see all the only products which has the sales. If I don't add this one, I'm seeing all the products. So now what I can do is I can say, OK, this is my product. We can call it product parameter or whatever we want to call it. Let's see. OK, so we have a new table in our model. Of course, we can let's uncheck. So we have a data set, which is our sales, and then we have product parameters. So now we go in a dim product, go in a parameter properties, and now we can say available values should come from my product parameters table, not from the hidden table what it created. So I can go what I need. I don't need ID sales, it's just for the purpose of limiting the product. So I can go product. This is value field and this is label field. I think that's how parameters works. So now if I run this, so I go run this and this, and if I choose the product, see how quickly the parameter showed up because it's a very limited number of products are showing up. And one thing is like this is not sorted alphabetically. We can always go back and change our DAX filter, query, and we can go back to the way we want it to be. Hang on a second, what happened here? Did I click it twice? Okay, go back to design. So I can go back into my product parameters. I can go in the query and just quickly show you and change. I need to go in a designer mode now because I want to give my own order so I can, if we know DAX, what it is. So this is order by so let's preview it here just before. So if I run this here, you guys probably going to see it's not alphabetically these products, but if I add my code here, order by name product, of course, it's going to show by that alphabetically. So I can write my own queries. I can create my own list of things. Let's say if I want to have a parameters just showing the values, like only product starts with A, for example, or B or whatever. I just need to come here, change my logic here in my DAX query, and then use that table as my parameter table. All right. Do we have any question on these parameters, how they work and what you can do with these?
Doesn't look like it. Just a comment from Donald that says he's been using Query Builder and DAX Studio lately, which makes a fairly clean DAX. Yeah, it's a good product, no question. Yeah. All right. So one of the challenge which I want to quickly look in this is, which was really interesting to look, and there's so many other examples working with the parameters, but let's go back to our original data set. So if I go in a query here, I will show the rough sketch here then, but because given the time, we have probably jump to already developed report. So what we can do here is, for example, let's say if I want a customer sales within a date range to and from. So in my date, I have again, going back quickly to my model, because everything we need to look from the model perspective. So my calendar table is connected to my date on the order date. And so it means I have to bring my date from my calendar table. So that's calendar. Hey, Parv, I got a question here for you that I think is a great one here. And they said maybe it's a simple question, but does this work against SQL Server relational, or does it only work against Power BI datasets?
No, it works against SQL datasets, database as well. Yeah. Cool. So let's say I have a calendar. I brought the date, a filter. I want to filter on the range. So I say range inclusive. And I want, again, this as a parameter so that I choose from and to date. I never knew what the second checkbox is in the parameters. So the first one is when you have a range inclusive, or like a range, because it is two parameters now. So you check both of those. If you check one, it's going to say range from, or whatever the date from. And if you check this one, it's going to say up to what date. So it's like a start and end of the range if you have a operator like that. So I select both of those. I couldn't find out any documentation where it tells what these are. Probably, one of the things which I want, like anything you want to know about this apart from the DAX part, like how this layout and search for SSRS, like how I add a summary table or image or graph and all the stuff. Like pretty much a lot of SSRS stuff does work from the designing point of view. This is more what we are talking today is more about working with the Power BI data set in Power BI. But general functionality, if you want to do, don't try to look and search for something, oh, in paginated report or in the report builder, how I do this thing. Change the background color, for example. In SSRS, it's a very old product. There's a tons of probably document, posts available, help available online. So look for that, which you can actually apply it here, most of it. Again, going back to now we see two parameters from and to. Just quickly talk about how creating your own parameters, how it's going to help, like in a scenario like this, which is the internal interface doesn't allow you to do that. So I'm just going to quickly choose one customer and go within a product here. Now look at the from and to. These are the date. Basically, what's happening behind the scene, everything is getting into a text column. There's no, it seems like, I worked through this and it seems like everything is a text. So if I look at this in my from column, I see the dates like this, and it's a horrible experience, somebody to be selecting a from and to date like this. So scrolling through, like if you have 10 years of data, it means you have to scroll through. There's no calendar kind of thing. But now, if we create this parameter by ourselves, let's see if I add a parameter by myself and I say my date parameter, and I have the option to choose a date and time, and it gives a really nice a calendar kind of look and feel to select the date. So I want to apply this from and calendar. And if you look at the queries, again, everything you want to look at the query generated behind the scene. Our sales query now look, oh, it's a horrible. I'm going to take it from here. Again, this is DAX. I can go into DAX formatter. If you never used it, I'm pretty sure everybody of us use this. And copy my code here. This is what I do all the time, format. Oh, that didn't do very well. I'm wondering why. I usually get a very neat and clean, interesting. Well, that's a failure. But the way you want to look into that is, so what it does is, and sorry, I can't format this query, but I think this looks good, visually a little bit more good here. So it use those from calendar date parameter, whatever those parameters, is going through this all the transformation stuff. Basically, what it is doing is it's looking, okay, if you enter a date parameter or a blank, and then looking at the length, and it's doing some validation in here, and then running that query and passing those parameters or the conditions to the query. So what I did is, probably because I don't want to go from the scratch, so I probably have a report here which I already created. I will just quickly show you guys. So if you look at this one, I run this. So I have a from and to parameters, and as a date. So these parameters I created manually using the parameter, not went through the query builder. And then what I did is, in my query, I added the DAX query, and instead of the whole slew of things which it did behind the scene, my final query is going to look at very simple, and it's probably nicely formatted as well. So what I'm doing here is, of course, that's a simple DAX. I'm saying, okay, customer and product, and filter my calendar date. Because this is a text column, I'm going to convert into the date value. So give me greater than equal to from and to. So the original query, I think in my notes somewhere I have it here. The original query it put together, here it is actually, I'm going to bring it here quickly. Show you guys. Here is the query which Power, when we use parameters created through the query designer, this was the query created, which we're just looking right now. It goes through all this validation process, and there is no nice looking interface to select different parameters. So what we have here is we created our own parameters, and we given the date type, and then we applied those parameters. We added the DAX query, and then we gave those parameters here, so that now the user has a very clean kind of interface working with the dates. So what does that mean is that it's a combination of that you can create your own parameters, you can provide your own data tables from the same data set, or these two from and to is not connected to any table, or they are not coming. This is just in a there's no available value. This is just a regular parameters. But what we're doing is we are passing these parameters to our queries in our calendar date and saying, okay, give us the data within that date range. So that's how you can actually overcome that kind of a inbuilt functionality and write your own DAX query and whatnot. There are a few more things which I want to show. I know the time, we're going over time. Are we good, or what's the?
Yeah, Parv, you can keep on going if you want to. That's no worries. I mean, if people need to drop off, they can. We'll just upload the video to YouTube later. So
Okay.
all good.
Okay, perfect. One of the things which I really want to talk about is how, I talked in my presentation to start, like, what we're going to have, like how you can export the data and whatnot, and how we make it work and all that stuff, which is I found it very, very useful. And a lot of my customers are actually using that stuff. So going back to one simple report here, probably I have, just going to open it, which is already created. So I call it customer statement with date range. So again, nothing fancy in this report, just a customer product, and then we have a cup from and to parameters, and then select a customer. One thing which I didn't mention, if you guys never used it, if you guys have a Power BI Premium and PPU or turned on, I can go file, like, how it get published in the cloud. There's no concept of like in Power BI Desktop, there's a publish button. What you do is you save as this report in Power BI service. So if I want to service this, publish this report in the cloud, I go save as Power BI service. And then I choose where of course, these are all workspaces showing up. And then I can go and, let's say I want to go in a COVID demo. I want to save it here, give it a name, ABC, save it. And this is where your premium kicks in, because it says you cannot save to this workspace because this is not on the premium. So that's where you can, as a pro, you can download report builder, you can develop reports and whatnot, but you cannot do anything with it afterwards. Like, it's local to you. But yeah, here, if I wanted it to be, I can go in a meetup Vancouver paginated. It's a diamond icon. It means it's a premium capacities. Now I can go and say save it to there, and then it will go in the cloud. So if we quickly jump over to our contents here in the same workspace. So as you can see, the ABC showed up in here. The report look and feel is going to be much nicer here in the cloud compared to what we have in. And so as you can see, the parameters looks a little bit more cleaner. We have a whatever one, January 1st to today. And also this came up in a few months ago that you can actually search in names in here, which is not in Power BI Report Builder if you're developing there. So it's much more cleaner look and feel here. So yeah, this is how you publish your Power BI paginated reports in the cloud, if you're curious. So again, going back to the report which I want to talk about. So I have actually, maybe I will show it straight in the cloud. So I have a report, let's say my customer statement report here, which is called customer statement with the date range. I just call it. So I have a from, to, and customer, which is select. Now this particular report, maybe let's run for a couple of customers just to see how does it look like. maybe go back, I don't know, 2000 January. And today we select one or two customers. We report. That's it. This is my statement, and this is I like whatever. You can create all these expand and collapse. Again, this is Power Report Builder feature. How you do it, if you want to search about this, you can search for SSRS, and you can find out how you can do all this stuff. This is a page view. You can actually have a different views as well. Sorry, this is the default view, but you can have the page view is again how it will come out as a report, depending on what the page size you have selected and whatnot. So assuming this is my customer statement, and now what I want this customer statement to be a exported from Power BI desktop. What I want to do, not come here in Paginated Report and do all that stuff. And let's say I have an app here. So this is my app. This is my Power BI desktop report, simply created. It's nothing fancy in here. I work with this report, and all of a sudden I've selected the date range, select a product, I select the multiple customers. So I created a button here. So I want to have this report to be exported, for example, click to export data or whatever you want to call it. So I say on click of this, whatever my selection is made in there, send the parameter to paginated report and export it out. So I already selected, let's say 3 or 4, 5 customers here. Of course, my report is slicing and dicing based on that. And now I want this to be exported out. So I click on that button, and what it does is behind the scene, I will show you how I did it, but I just want to show what the result looked like. So it kicked in paginated report, passed those parameter values, and here the report shows up. What it's going to do is I told it to export it in Excel. So it exported the report in Excel. And if we open our Excel, I can export in a PDF and whatnot. So what we have is that report in Excel here show up as a group, and as well as it creating a report builder. So basically from Power BI desktop, now we can have this really formatted report exported in Power BI in Excel or PDF or whatever you want to name it. So you can have these paginated reports linked with Power BI desktop and pass that the parameter values to your paginated report, and then do wonders with this. And how I did it, it's a very, very simple thing. Just want to, again, let's go back to all the measures. So just quickly, let's close this. So going to sales overview, this is my button, which I created here. So what this button is doing, it's calling a web URL. Again, this is the functionality within Power BI. So this is actually an image. And I said on action of this image, I want to call a web URL, and I passed through a conditional functionality, I pass a measure value to it. So what the measure look like, so I'm just going to show you quickly here. So let's go to FX. It's actually, I go on the field value here, and I call it, I think, export URL or whatever. So I selected that. Okay, so that's kind of basically what I'm saying is on click of this button, call that URL. So what my export URL look like is just a measure. So this is my measure, only 16 line long, nothing fancy. So what is this? I just divided into for the readability to smaller things. So let's export. What I'm doing here is I stored it in as a base report URL where I'm getting this from. So going back to our in the cloud. So if I go to my workspace, so this is customer statement with date range. So this is my report URL. So I grab this. This is what I need, and so I set this as a base URL, and then what again, this is a syntax. There is a well-documented post from Microsoft, which I have on my slides. I will share through Meetup. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a customer parameters. Again, dim customer, this name has to be the same. What is in my paginated report? I'm passing the values. So what I'm doing here is I'm concatenating what is selected in the customer list. So if it's a one single, if my parameter is a multiple, I can pass multiple values. So one thing you want, I learned here as well. What I did was in paginated report, I had my parameter as, let's say, this customer parameter was a allow multiple values was turned off. And what I was doing when I was creating this export URL here, I'm concatenating here, iterating over my selected customers and creating the value. So what I was passing like 4 or 5 customers to it, and it was only giving me the one. It was not giving the error, but it was showing me only the one customer, first customer report. And turned out to be because the multiple selection has to be selected on the parameter side in Power BI paginated report. So that's what I'm doing here is building that parameter value. And then again, the second parameter, I'm passing my selected date, which is my date range here from the minimum data I'm taking. So I'm taking 2010. And then whatever the date range is selected, if I want 1 year or 2 years, so I'm passing those report values. And here I'm saying, okay, I want my output to be in Excel. Again, everything is well documented. You don't need to worry about all this stuff. And I want a page view to default with. And I want parameter panel to be hidden so that I just want it to be run and parameter values are passed to it. And same window, of course, it's just showing up in the same thing. And now this constructed my URL. So if I just simply bring that URL here just for the sake of seeing how does the text value look like. So if I go maybe 10 points. Yeah, so this is what has been constructed behind the scene, which get passed to, because right now I have all the customers. Let's see if I have 3 customers, I can see the parameter values changing. So it's calling that report and passing those values. Again, how long this URL can be, I think there's a limitation on how much you can pass in a URL through the browser. So you have to be careful about that. When you're constructing this, you want to put some limit. Let's say you say if 20 customers are selected, you say after 20 customers, you give a message to the user, hey, your range is bigger and whatnot. So you need to control that through the Power BI desktop. So this is one way you can actually take advantage of Power BI desktop, let the user live in one interface and call the paginated report behind the scene, whether for the exporting of the data based on the slicer selection, if you want it to be passed those as in a parameter value, or have the paginated reports directly viewed through the Power BI service. One other example which I want to show here is I just did this one. Let's say there's a use case. What we wanted to do here is maybe I will throw interface is better through the browser. So I go to my Power BI app. So I'm saying customer statement, and what I want to do here is I want to let's say I have a different customers and that they have a different kind of customer statements. They don't like, they want in a different look and feel, which is very rare, but let's say if that's the use case. So what I did in this particular case is I created a metadata of what customer looking for what kind of statements. So the way I did it, again, there's many ways to do that, but the way I did it, I created a simple Excel sheet where I'm maintaining this metadata of the my statement, so the report. So I said statement 1, 2, 3, whatever I want to name it, and what their URL is. So again, took the URL from the cloud, and then I have another tab in here. I say, okay, this particular customer need a customer statement V2, this one V3, this one is V3. If these is kind of what rest, if customer is not included in this, they all getting the V1. So again, it's up to me, whatever the way I want to build the logic, but I'm maintaining this reports metadata here. Now with some DAX magic and all this stuff, now I bring it in here. As you can see in the metrics, it's showing me what statement I can run it here as I hover over. As you can see against each customer, so if I run this at this point of view, so what's happening, it's going to call that statement v1 and pass Aaron Adams as in a parameter. So it's just, let's go this. And what I have in here, it should show on the screen because I'm not saying export or anything like that. So as you can see, the customer Aaron Adam has been populated automatically in the parameter and show me the report. Now from here, I can of course export it in the way I want it to be. So within Power BI desktop, now I don't need to go to the paginated report to run. I can run it through this. Let's say if I have a statement, I just want to see customer with the V2 statements as some of those three customers which we have in our Excel sheet. This guy need a V2 and this guy need a V3. So again, through this interface, I click on that and I can actually go back and run those different statements. As you can see, this is V2 statement running and it's look a little bit different, product and product category and all the stuff. So with the mix of paginated reports,
hey, Parv,
yeah.
Just a quick note on that one, because I think that last statement actually probably showed sort of what happens with this. There's a question here about, how will the paginated report print out if the table goes longer than the page size? And I mean, I think that's kind of the point of the paginated report, isn't it? That it'll actually flip onto another page and just keep going.
Yeah, it's keep on going. It will keep on going. I think if I have a really long, let's say I can select here more. Let's say if I have selected, let's pick quite a bit of here.
You have an awful lot of Ashley's in your data set.
I don't know, this data set is, I think this is what do you call that? AdventureWorks or some, I don't know exactly. So let's say if we're here, we are seeing is like a 1, 2, 3. I don't know how many pages are there. So 3 pages. So if I export this in a PDF, for example. Now again, this particular formatting in the PDF where the page break is, when the header repeats and all the stuff that we need to do heavy lifting in the paginated report. But if I did a good job, which is very less likely, I don't know. So as you can see, it's showing me this is my report and it's keep on going the way I designed. I did not repeated the header on each page. If I had that header repeated on each page, it would have shown here. So if this is in a PDF, it goes like, doesn't matter how long it is. Or if I export it in Excel, I guess this goes as in a one table. It doesn't give a page break, I think.
Which is exactly what should happen anyway. That's all good. So yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
I think that probably answers the question then. Thanks, Parv.
Yeah, here you go. So that's your. So again, the paginated report, you design everything, then you interact with the desktop, pass the parameters, and you can really marry these two things together and do wonders. I think that's pretty much what I really wanted to cover, like how you integrate Power BI paginated reports or report builder, how you work with the parameters and all the stuff. It's a little bit challenging working with parameters. DAX is your friend. If you don't know DAX, again, go back. Let's say if I want to do something, I don't know, let's say I want only top 5 products and I don't know how to write a DAX for that. I can simply go here and say product. And this is my product. I want like a sales, and that's my sales. Now I want top 5 only. I don't know how to do that. Again, here in the filter, it allows us to do that. I want products and top N by top N 5, for example, by sales and apply filter. So this is what the result look like. If I really, this is my need. I know this, it has written the DAX query underneath. I can do view, go to my performer analyzer, start recording, and refresh my visual. So it's going to create the DAX query. If I take this DAX query and just open up in Notepad for quickly and paste it in here, boom, that's my query. I don't need to spend time on learning. If I don't know, I don't know. And I can learn from here, and I can grab the queries. Now I can take this query and create a data set, connect to my Power BI data set, create a data source to that, and create a data set in there with this query, and then I got my result. So DAX is your friend. in this case, and then you can take it to your performance analyzer, and you can really do wonders and marry this paginated report with the report builder. One thing, just to let everybody know, I think if you guys ever, a few months ago, there was a webinar on guys in the cube that it was talked there that there might be a visual in Power BI itself for paginated reports where you will be able to directly interact with the paginated reports in here. What the timeline is and when it's going to come, we don't know, but that will be really, really interesting. And then you can actually, how we today Power Apps or other things we can integrate here. I think paginated reports will become part of it and may be able to pass parameters back and forth. No idea how that's going to look like, but that's something I think was talked about. But in the meantime, you can take with the DAX, you can actually take advantage of these things, and from Power BI Desktop, you can really make these things happen. So quickly going back to presentation to make sure I covered everything. Nothing is, I don't know which screen you guys are looking right now. I think
yeah, we see your presentation mode, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, again, copy and paste DAX from Power BI, remove table names from DAX query, and oh yeah, one thing which I wanted to talk about, that's good, I'm talking about here. So let's quickly go back to the very important, yeah. So this is the query just which we took, DAX code which we took. As in a best practice, you never want to refer your measures with the table name. So the problem with this, I think this probably Microsoft has to improve on this. When you go to the performance analyzer, you get the query. So this is dim product is a product. Of course, this is a column from the dim product table, and this is passing the filter table, which is this variable filtering on Canada and United States. And this is the column name it gives. So look at here, what it does is it puts a name of the table next to the measure, which is not a best practice ever, even in the Power BI Desktop. Even in Power BI Desktop, you are referring a measure within another measure. You never want to refer it by table because measures are global to the model. It's not like a tied up within a table. So in my case, because it's showing my measures, because all my measures are in here, if tomorrow, let's say if I took this query today, I create a report on top of that. It's using my measures in the sales table, dollar sales table. Measure is in a my measure table. If I come back tomorrow to my Power BI model and say, okay, no, I don't want this in a sales table. I want this to be changed to customer statement table for whatever reason. And you know what? This report built on this query is gonna break because this query is telling use this table for this measure. But if I remove this completely and use it like that, it's going to work because measures, we know they are global to the model. So this is one thing you want to be very, very careful as in a best practice. When you are copying the query's DAX code from Power BI, it puts the table name next to the measure. You want to remove that measure, the table name next to the measures because measures are global. Nothing is going to break. It's still going to give me sales of dollar sales by each product filtered on Canada and United States. So well, that's one thing which I learned because I created a report and then all of a sudden we moved the measures in a different folder and my reports stopped working. And then I learned, okay, this is the problem. Let's quickly go back to my PowerPoint if there is anything else we need to mention here. Again, yeah, always add measure to your query because it's with the filter context, it will limit the number of rows get returned. So usually we get caught into that. So that's one thing. And again, I probably put this presentation. There's a lot of URL parameters. You guys have a link in there. You guys get to see that. It's really awesome. There's a paginated reports in a day YouTube channel from Chris Finland and I think Peter Myers, and they've done a great job in that. And there's a good documentation from Chris Webb on RS custom DAX filter. I talked about this function a little bit, but you guys want to know more about this, you guys can go there and and learn more about this particular function. That's it.
Thanks, Parv. You caught me off guard there. I had to unmute. Thanks for that, man. That's fantastic. A great set of content. I see there's a comment in here from one of our attendees who I think has actually left now, but who said that she loves seeing all this in action. Great job and presentation. Thanks. And I definitely want to echo that. It's been a fantastic run through of the feature set here. So thanks a ton for doing this, Parv. Appreciate it.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thanks for having me, and I hope people start using more of Power Builder with the PPU and all the stuff, and it will be awesome.